What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. We were a rain delay away from this being a very different vibe this morning, Scott. Mark the date, August 17th, when we watched the World Series 2022 DVD. August 17th, rain delay, the gods from heaven bringing down the rain to delay the Yankees. And who knows, maybe there was like a Jason Hayward type motivational speech. Maybe we're going to find out later that Aaron Hicks had this amazing motivational speech and changed the Yankees, the course of the Yankees in 2022.
I'm going to think that it's Oswaldo Cabrera
first day on the job.
Coming in and first day on the job, just coming in. You know what? And then he got the trumpets going in the background, because I don't know if you caught his walk-up song. His walk-up song definitely had some horns in it. I like the vibe. The kid's got a good vibe. You could tell that young and dumb coming up, just appreciating everything, soaking it all in. Family's there. All of the fun baseball vibes, juju of a young kid coming up, and he was really embracing it. Then you get the first play to him was the fly ball that I tweeted out just before that fly ball. I said, okay, I already love this kid. And then the fly ball goes up in the air. I literally hit send, and he's backing, and almost drops the fly ball. I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Thank God he caught that ball.
Who did you jinx immediately earlier? It was IKF when he gets picked off.
IKF immediately. Oh yeah, because he gets picked off. Yeah, I mean it was almost an identical thing. So yeah, I think a little fresh blood, a little fresh
shake up.
Maybe it wasn't from him, but maybe that fresh blood, that enthusiasm got everybody else going, which then evoked some emotion for someone to stand up and give a little Rudy
speech. To borrow a deep Seinfeld reference, the unbridled enthusiasm.
Unbridled enthusiasm. Maybe it was Josh Donaldson. Maybe there was a fountain of youth situation here.
Who on the Yankees is? I have no clue we have no clue if there was an emotional speech, but if there was.
But
who is most likely to have delivered said emotional speech?
I could see Gleyber doing it. I could see Gleyber getting.
Way.
Yeah, good.
No, that's.
Oh yeah.
Maybe the last guy.
Let me tell you why.
I would have said.
No, Gleyber now as a father has totally different perspective. Totally different
about
perspective.
Call of Duty.
He is a guy. He gets emotionally connected. He has a deep relationship with a lot of the players here. So I don't think he's going on rah. I think he goes straight from the heart, straight from conviction, and starts delivering it to the guys. I think he's got that. I think Gleyber is one of those guys in the clubhouse who inspires people.
I would not have said Gleyber. I was thinking Trevino. Jose Trevino as the guy to step up, because you would think it might be Judge, but Judge we've I think learned is not maybe that emotional leader, kind of like how Jeter, we learned in the documentary, Jeter was not going to be standing up in a rain delay giving an emotional speech. That might have been Posada, but Jeter was going to lead in other ways. And
Posada just yell at you.
Whatever you need.
Posada will just
intimidation, emotional, fine line, okay? But I think Judge is going to lead by example, and maybe Trevino could be an emotional guy in the clubhouse to rah-rah the guys in a rain delay when.
Why do you think that Gleyber is not that emotional guy? He is. He's very much showing his emotions on his sleeve all the time. He's very much that guy. And he's very talkative now. He's always playing with the cameras. He's always playing with the guys. He's got a good relationship on that team.
I'm not saying he's got a bad relationship.
He talks a lot.
I just talks a lot from him. I think he's too immature. He's too young. I do not think.
No, he's not immature. He's no longer immature. He has a kid now.
That doesn't mean shit.
You can't be immature anymore.
You have everything. You're still immature as crap.
Oh my gosh! But my maturity leveled up. I will give you a speech right now if you challenge me. But the emotional change, the type of personal click that goes in your head, where now you're like, okay, I am a caregiver. I care for life. Clicks on, and you have the ability to deliver way more different emotional, sentimental messages to people. He's a leader of men now. Or one kid.
Speaking of your motivations, I learned on the golf course that shit talking you just motivates you. Any compliments will cause your slice to become worse. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Don't
nice shot, Scott.
Don't tell
Next
me
shot will definitely be shanked.
Fuck you. Yeah. Yeah. No. If yeah. I need that.
You need the hate. You
I
need to
thrive in
manufacture the
pressure.
hate.
I also need the competition. If I were just out there having a good time, I can't play well.
Well, we're joking obviously about the comeback on Wednesday night. It otherwise was a disastrous series. Okay, the offense just completely non-existent. They had the scoreless streak, I think, ended at 22 innings. But even so, the runs that they scored were so soft. As soon as
Not yesterday.
I'm talking about the first two games.
Yeah. But before Chapman yesterday, there were things that happened too that I thought were really positive.
But until that comeback yesterday, when the Rays scored 2 or 3 runs, that felt insurmountable for this offense the way it was going.
Yeah, we have a guy on our team, a Blue Wire, Henry, who's a degenerate gambler and big WinBet fan here. But he was asking me about the line yesterday, and the line was over 5.5 for the kid that was pitching for Tampa. I was like, no. And then it was under 7 for the game. I was like, oh, Nestor's on the bump. Yankees can't hit dog shit. They're not going to pitch to Judge. Smash the under 7. Nestor gives up the 3-run shot. Then nothing for the rest of the game. The bet hit, but under 7 at that point, yeah, you got. It's like you got to play that for a while if you have some confidence in who's pitching for the Yankees because they can't hit anything. And we're seeing they're just not pitching to Judge in the same way. They're pitching around Judge.
Well, the rest of the lineup is doing nothing. You pitch around the guy who's leading the league in home runs. That's an easy call.
If you make if Judge beats you with the lineup doing what they're doing, or you look at the lineup and who the guys are, then you are doing a bad job because you are pitching to the one person who can hurt you. And I think that's part of why he's struggling right now, because he's pressing a bit more because he's not getting the same pitches he had been because no one else is hitting around him.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
It's so obvious what the Manscaped nut up moment of the week is. It's the Josh Donaldson walk-off slam.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we were in our chat like racking our brains like, okay, I guess we have to talk about the IKF game over the weekend, even though we already talked about it.
Yeah, it was the IKF game.
We were going to be forcing that. Okay, that was going to be a very uninspired Manscaped nut up moment of the week. Josh Donaldson comes through in the clutch with the walk-off grand slam, and it was. I'm trying to like put into words how huge it was, because like obviously it's huge because the Yankees won the game. But do you think that this can be a weight off your shoulders type of moment, turning point for the Yankees?
If you look at the quote, Ilya just put this in our chat, Donaldson telling Glaber, we're back after the home run. So yeah, if you believe it, it's real. If you believe it, it's true. And I think one of the biggest things from yesterday's game, because really the first 2 games were just not good. You
good
look
analysis.
At the third game, we have to look at the third game as you ran through as a fan, emotion wise, you ran through the gamut on Sunday or yesterday, because through you get down in the game, you fight back, Glaber hits the home run, okay, rains come, you fight back, you tie the game, you have opportunities to do it. You're like, okay, the offense is actually happening. Now you have to win this game. Once we tied it, you gotta win this game. This is a game,
because otherwise that feels like a double loss if you tie the game and then lose.
It feels like a double loss. When Chapman came in and was erratic, and oh God, old Chapman's back again, or old Chapman of 2022 is back. I just looked at my date to check the year, just so you know. Old Chapman of this year. You're like, oh no, he's back again. And then I'm thinking in my head, well, lasagna, gonna be a closer. I was going back to that. It's just more devastating. Like that was devastating at that point. And then really Donaldson, like base runner, shot, game over. It happened so fast. Like you're running through the gamut of emotions there, and it became a huge deal. So yeah, I do think it's one of those games where you get off the schneid. You look at it and you understand what you can be. You're coming back. The DJ LeMahieu pinch hit with all the emotion. Loved that. So I think there's a lot of emotion that happened in this game that was very good, not only for the fan base, because we needed that little shot in the arm, but the team needed it Absolutely. After that Glaber inspiring speech, it was huge.
There's so much to unpack with the game. So many decisions that were made, right and wrong, that we'll talk about. But thank you so much to Manscaped for coming through and inspiring Josh Donaldson to hit the grand slam. It's back to school time. I don't know if you remember, Scott, but when it was back to school time, my mom would always take me shopping. You got to buy the notebooks. You got to buy the pencils. That always depressed me because it meant like summer was almost over. You know what's not depressing? Male grooming. Okay? I almost got through that with a serious face. Manscaped wants you to go for the valedictorian of ball trimming. This is actually in the copy, okay? And they want you to join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. The Bronx Pinstripes show trusts Manscaped, so you should too. We've been telling you about the Performance Package 4.0. It has so many great items in it. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, an LED spotlight so you don't miss any spots, and it is waterproof so you can take it in the shower with you. In all seriousness, I have owned a lot of trimmers over the years. This is by far the best one. Most consistent, it's rechargeable, which is super nice. It's a really high quality
battery life.
Really high quality trimmer. So if you're just going to Manscaped and buying the trimmer, in my opinion, it is well worth it. Much better than anything you can get at the pharmacy or anything like that. They also include the Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer, which, don't let those nose hairs get out of control. The Crop Preserver ball deodorant.
And they do as you start climbing ages.
Manscaped also throws in some different products if you want to, get a little adventurous with the Crop Preserver ball deodorant and the Crop Reviver ball toner. New pair of boxers.
Key for those hot
That's
Yankee
right.
Stadium
days. It's hot
days.
again this weekend. So if you're going to the stadium, throw on some ball deodorant. So
for everybody around
right.
you, throw on that deodorant.
Actually, back when Manscaped,
I know. You don't have to say it again.
Back when Manscaped sponsored us a few years ago, and we went to that BP Crew event that was like 110 degrees in July. I threw on some ball deodorant. It helped. It was nice and breezy. I was out nice and breezy in section 205.
Yeah, we appreciate
a new pair of
it.
boxers, which is always nice, and a travel bag, which I used last week when I was on my vacation. Very nice. Manscaped. I feel like every time Manscaped is advertising on the show, the Yankees come through with a Manscaped nut up moment. So the listeners out there have to go to manscaped.com and use our code Bronx21 to get 20% off plus free shipping to keep the good times rolling and the nut up moments continuing.
You can't get too far ahead of holiday planning either, so it's a great gift. Definitely give it out, not only for yourself, but make sure that your friends and your family are not walking around with some stinky undercarriage. I do have a bit of an issue with you connecting you going back to school as a child to the valedictorian.
This was all written in the copy. I'm just
saying your transition felt a little a little much.
Well,
a little much.
Send it to the guy who writes the copy over at Manscaped. Tell him to up his game, I guess. I don't know.
I do appreciate their writing style, to be honest.
Let's start with all the decisions in Wednesday's game. First, the decisions, I guess, pregame to shake up the roster. LeCastro and Andujar option back to AAA. Estevan Florial, Ron Marinaccio, Oswaldo Cabrera all added to the roster. Cabrera starting at third base, Florial starting in center field. Do you buy into the shakeup, the we need a spark type of thing?
How many fans do you think thought Cabrera was Peraza, by the way?
By the reaction on Twitter, all of them. It is confusing. Oswaldo, I get it. It's confusing, okay? And Oswaldo Cabrera probably understands that half the people cheering for him that night thought he was the prospect Peraza.
I think he's the number one prospect. Yeah. Okay, so the shakeup. I think this is a shakeup for a shakeup purposes. No one's losing their job. Well, so many people are calling for the job of, we'll talk about this very soon probably, about IKF and all of this. Like, I'm still not on board with that. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. He's doing what we thought he would do. But for the shakeup purposes, and given the situation of, we had some spots here, there's opportunities for these guys to come up because we still have people who are injured. They're about to come back. It does not hurt anything. I think it's a good shot in the arm. I think it's, for defensive purposes, we saw Florial make a nice play that I don't think anybody else is making out there. Maybe LeCastro makes that play.
Definitely.
But Florial is such a long body. He's a big dude.
Play, by the way.
I don't know. Judge's first step is not the same as Florial's or LeCastro. So those low sinking line drives, I think, are one of his harder plays.
Make that catch?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, he does. But Florial also, we saw what he is at the bat.
That's my new go-to for anything in center field. It's just routine fly ball to center field. It doesn't even have to take a step. Would Harrison Bader have made that catch? Could he make it barehanded?
I mean, can we just get the real answers to that in like 2 to 3 weeks? That'd be nice. But yeah, I think it's fine. It's good. Get a shot in the arm. I think you should do it. There's nothing wrong with it. But I don't think they're taking anybody's job, and that's the difference. I think a lot of fans go to the emotional cliff of saying, "Get this guy out. He's a bum. Bring up a kid to take his spot because he's killing it in AAA." Well, guess what, guys? A lot of times, most times, the AAA does not translate into the major leagues. We've seen it multiple times. It just doesn't work that way. You could get shots in the arm. Those guys are going to have their struggles as well. But nobody on this team, I think at this point, deserves, besides a guy, Aaron Hicks is probably the one person that deserves to lose their job.
Let's talk about overall. Because he didn't lose his job, but he was benched. His night on Monday was one of the worst that I've ever seen. Obviously, misplaying that ball in center field, that turned into a run immediately for Tampa, and then coming up immediately with the bases loaded. And I was being sarcastic when I tweeted, "Hey, all is forgiven, Aaron Hicks, as long as you don't ground into a double play." Because, I'm not expecting him to come through, but just don't make 2 outs in this scenario. And what does he do? Makes 2 outs in maybe the most embarrassing fashion, a little tapper back to the pitcher. Okay? And then after the game, Boone's talking about how some guys have lost their confidence. And I think he was clearly talking about Aaron Hicks. And I guess Hicks in his post-game press conference sounded pretty down, pretty depressed. And I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Yankees fans have now turned on Hicks like they turned on Gallo." Like, it's getting a little old. Like, these millionaires are getting booed because they're stinking on the field. Like, let's not act like Yankees fans are emotionally harassing these players. I mean, maybe there's some assholes who tweet at Aaron Hicks, and I'm sure there are some dickheads who are tweeting and trying to DM him nasty things, but you're going to get that any time. But if we're just talking about the fans at Yankee Stadium and the fans on their couches watching at home, more or less booing Aaron Hicks for stinking, come on. That's just part of it. So
yeah, no, it's our right as fans to boo people that don't perform well. And it's not like he's in a slump that hasn't come before. He was awful to start the year too. Went through a phase where he had a bit of a resurgence and it looked like he was getting more comfortable, but then fell back into some really terrible habits. Has played a pretty bad center field, to be honest. Has muffed some plays, even dogging it in left field that I remember getting mad about early in the year. And he doesn't have a track record of helping this team a ton. He has a track record of playing golf and getting hurt and not being a guy that you can count on, even though he was, signed for 10 years. That's not his fault, but he's a guy that hasn't really given anybody a lot of confidence. So there's no reason why people can't be down on a guy like Aaron Hicks, who just isn't a very good baseball player right now, especially understanding that the Yankees just made a trade for his replacement. In clear as day, wide out, they gave a very good starting pitcher in the middle of the season for a guy that's going to take his job. The writing is on the wall. So it's not a mystery here. It's not just the fans, it's the team.
Are you insinuating that is affecting?
No, I don't think it affects Hicks. I think that I don't think that affects Hicks at all. I think that if it does, that even more reason to not have him play if that's affecting him. But if anything, it should light a fire under his ass, knowing that there's a guy literally brought in to play the position that he was paid for.
You're right. Through July 1st, he was on the season a .218 batting average with a .622 OPS. And then he had a hot streak, 19 games. He went 19 for 58 with 3 home runs, a .328 batting average, over 1,000 OPS. And we even talked in our midseason grades. We're like, maybe Hicks isn't done after all. Maybe he's finding, water finds its level sort of thing. He's not going to be a 1,000 OPS player for the rest of the season, but his numbers will average out and he'll be a solid contributor. When he's been on the field, he's been a solid contributor for this team. You agree? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not going to light up the world, but he's going to
When he's on the field.
But then he went into another complete tailspin. 0 for 29 stretch. He had one day in St. Louis where he got 3 hits. I believe 2 of them were infield tappers. And then since then, he's 2 for 21. So we're talking about pretty much, aside from 20 games this season, someone who has been awful. Awful.
David Cohn said something on the broadcast last night that had me cracking up. It was... can't go through it. It's not a Yankee game unless Michael Kay talks about nubbing a ball, and that's exactly what I was thinking of for Aaron Hicks in St. Louis, like nubbing a ball, getting on base. Yeah, Cohn had me. I was laughing way too hard.
Cohn's in better spirits after his surgery.
Hilarious. Yeah, he had there's just those little zingers that are hilarious if you pick up on them. He definitely does the ribbing. But yeah, no, he's not. He's uninspired. He's not inspiring. The guy, again, if he's not playing well at the plate, the very least he can be doing is playing good defense, and he's just not doing that. His defensive metrics and his defensive profile is severely downgraded from what he was coming into this team. Coming into this team, the man was throwing 125 miles per hour from center field, could fly like a gazelle, and was the answer to our defensive, woes in center long term. And he's a switch hitter. Like, all of the things were positive looking at him as a profiled player. But now he's just not that same guy in the field. And if you're not hitting, then you're really serving a very, very small purpose on this team. And I got to tell you, if you're not able to be a guy off the bench who can pinch hit, which apparently Aaron Boone thought that was a good idea last night, then I don't really understand the purpose you're serving on this team. So yeah, bring up some kids. Let's see what they can do.
Hicks has been better defensively in left, but right now you're not starting him over Andrew Benintendi in left. And if and when Harrison Bader comes back, all accounts are he's the center fielder because he's a great defender and he's can't be worse offensively than Hicks has been. Comparing Harrison Bader's numbers in recent seasons, he had a 115 OPS in OPS plus in 2021 over 103 games, and in 2022 before his injury he had a 94 OPS plus. Both of those numbers are going to be better than Hicks because Hicks has been so bad. I just was looking at the numbers that we pulled here. Interestingly, Hicks has actually been a pretty good player on the road. He's got a 119 OPS plus on the road. He's got a 751 OPS overall on the road and a 514 OPS at home. So I don't know, maybe there is something to the booing getting to his head.
Soft. Is this just like all I see is soft?
He's Yawai.
Yawai. Forgot about Yawai. Those numbers are crazy. The home away are crazy because you'd think that the left side of the plate is a that's why he's a switch hitter for Yankee Stadium. Play on the left side there. Maybe he's pressing too much, trying to hit that short porch too much. Maybe he's again goes back to what we were talking about. Maybe you should just focus on being a right-handed person and stop trying to be a left-handed person.
I don't know. I'd have to confirm this. I think it's just happenstance. I think his hot streak coincided with the Yankees road trip. Frankly, July 2nd to the 27th, I think they played a lot of road games and he was hot in those games. I don't think it's anything more than that. I think had those games been at home, the splits would be opposite because I just think he's been pretty lost at the plate for the large majority of the season. And maybe unless Yawai. And maybe Yawai boy out in LA now was just taking all of the heat for Aaron Hicks because I think Gallo was certainly public enemy number 1 in the lineup and Hicks was number 2. But now because Hicks is there, he's been getting a lot of heat, but it's all been deserved. And the decision, I think it just is a nice segue into IKF for 2 things. Obviously, they pinch hit Hicks for IKF in yesterday's game. Boone said it was an obvious decision because it's an on-base situation. And, on the season, we looked up the numbers. Yes, Hicks's on-base percentage for the season is better than IKF's on-base percentage for the season. But you're just ignoring recent stretch and how a guy has been performing recently. Aaron Hicks got benched 48 hours ago. And now you're saying it's an easy decision to pinch hit him? You're not pinch hitting him for a pitcher. You're pinch hitting him for a guy who's been what was advertised coming into the year. Has IKF been amazing offensively? No. But he was never going to be amazing offensively. His numbers pretty much are in line with what he was in Texas. Aside from the home runs, which he hit 8 last year in 2021, over 677 plate appearances, he only has 1 this year. We know he only has 1 home run. It came in Boston, first home run. But his slugging percentage isn't that much different, 322 versus 357. His WRC plus this year is 84. It was 85 last year. So he's been the same player, 94 in 2020. He's not going to be a 120 WRC plus guy. That's just not who he is. His walk percentage is actually up this year, and his strikeout percentage is in line with what it was in Texas. And his batting average is 2 points different from last year. So I don't know. In my mind, that's exactly as advertised.
IKF is exactly the guy we thought he was. There's no doubt about it. He's a different look in the lineup. The fact that you're bringing in, I got so frustrated when I heard the switch, because not only are you. If Aaron Boone had stood up at the end of the game and at the press conference and said, Aaron Hicks gives us a better opportunity to end the game in the 9th inning. Okay. I that is true, probably. I understand that. That to me would have been a much more logical decision. But the fact that this guy is standing up saying it was an obvious decision because of OBP makes little to no sense. Little to no sense. IKF has, whether you look at OBP or just how he could possibly get on, he has much more bat to ball. He has been taking walks. At least he's going to be up there and try to make something happen. Whereas Aaron Hicks has been completely lost, and you're going to all of a sudden bring him in cold off of the bench to do what? His on base percentage. Exactly. Look in the moment. This is where the numbers. You got to be a baseball guy and understand and feel a situation. It's not it. It's not it. So having IKF not only come out of the game for that, but you're weakening your defense in a tie game in the 9th inning. You don't know how long this is going to go. Now you're taking out IKF, which is one of the more flexible players that you could have. You're bringing in Marwin Gonzalez from right field to play short, and your bench is completely, it's just Higgy. That's it. You got no more people on the bench. And the pinch hitting decision made no sense. It gave you no advantage. But what you did is set your team up for failure, essentially, on the defensive side in case this team goes out. That is not what I want my manager to be doing. My manager put us in a worse position to win the game. And you have to be thinking that this is going to possibly go an inning or 2 innings more. So you need more flexibility off of the bench, more flexibility in the field. And the man just doesn't think that way. And that type of shit drives me nuts, because now you're not only making a bad decision, but you put your team in a much more difficult position if this game had gone on further. And that is a bad manager. That is a bad manager. And I just looked up
Hicks's last 50 plate appearances, a 208 on-base percentage. Okay? So yes, again, on the season, better on-base percentage. But we're really talking about like a 19-game hot streak, okay? Like that's the only reason it's better. IKF has been a much more consistent throughout the season player, and right now Hicks has been far worse than IKF in recent sample, and he just got benched. Like, I'm sorry, they did it. He did this with Gallo too when he pinch hit him in for the Mets game, right? At least in that game, I think Boone even said, like, we're looking for a home run there. Yeah, okay, Gallo does give you a small % chance to hit a home run, and at that point, IKF had not hit a home run for the Yankees. And so, I don't know, maybe he didn't think that was a good enough reason in the post game to say, yeah, we're just looking for a solo shot there. What's up, Logan?
So I was listening to it, and he also talked about Ryan Thompson was in the game. He's a I think he said like a menace on righties or something. So I'm looking at the numbers right now. He's actually righties hit better than lefties against him. So that kind of flies in the face of that. So because he was like, oh, Hicks, at least he's a lefty. So as this year so far, righties have a 644 OPS and a 225 average. Lefties have a 192 average and a 532 OPS.
Yeah, so
that flies in the face of.
Did he get his splits messed up?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, both. I mean, the decision made no sense.
In that situation, IKF, it gives me a much better opportunity and much better feeling that he's going to figure
even
out
if
a
he
way
doesn't,
to get on base.
to your
to be
point,
honest.
even if he gives you an equal opportunity to score a run in the 9th inning, he gives you a better defensive situation if the game continues.
Correct. 1,000%. And you still have a guy, you still have Aaron Hicks on the bench to use in different situations.
Yeah. So that one, obviously lucky, I guess, that didn't come back to bite them in the ass. And do you question him going to Chapman in the 9th? I guess not, right? I think in his post game he said wasn't going to let Efros go any longer there. Obviously Chapman comes in and is immediately wild, but so you don't. Are you second guessing that move?
No, I mean he's been good.
Yeah.
He's been good recently. So this was a blip on the radar. Hopefully it's a blip, you know. And to his credit, he did dial it back in. I mean, it was a 101 mile per hour fastball down in the zone that was slapped into right field. And now you could say he was put in that situation because he's been wild. So, you know, guy at the plate, no matter who it is going to be looking for a fastball over the zone. Like that's only he's going to be looking for. So he's able to put a good defensive swing on it to slap it down the.
No, I agree with you.
No, you cannot be. You can't be mad at.
They already the bullpen. Obviously, Clay Holmes is on the IL now. They got Marinaccio back, who's been very good for them in high leverage spots. The Clay Holmes IL, I am going to pat myself on the back for calling the Phantom IL. I think I said this about two and a half weeks ago. After Tuesday's game, Holmes was asked if he's healthy because he hasn't pitched in 4 days, and his response was, we'll see. So, sorry, I don't think this is a severe injury.
Lower back spasms. Lower back.
Yeah. He said, there's stuff going on with my back, and we're just trying to figure out the best way to go about it. It kind of locked up a few days ago, and I tried to throw again on Tuesday, and it tightened back up. The smartest and best way to go about it is maybe give it a break. We'll see. We'll play it smart and not try to push through something that maybe could get a lot worse. Okay, maybe he did wake up on Tuesday with a sore back.
I mean, Phantom IL is, but what they're doing now. What'd you say? What did you stretch? What'd you say? Did you say something about your back? Did you say that you slept on it wrong? Is that what you said? Your back hurts?
Did he pull one of the?
So maybe they were
when he stood up.
Some leading questions to him from trainer. It's possible.
What hurts more, your back or your arm?
Yeah, but fine. If he has any discomfort at all, I think again, because of where they are in the standings, even though they've been playing like complete dog shit, they have the flexibility to make those decisions
I got something
much
to say
more
about
easily.
that. Logan, go ahead.
So I don't know if you guys listen to Boone. I think it was like before yesterday's game, and they were like, "Oh, Boone, are you gonna, is Holmes gonna go for any additional testing or anything, any MRIs?" And he was like, "Nah, he'll be back in 15 days
because he's fine." Because he's fine. Which okay, got it. I know they have a cushion in the AL. You can only say that for so long. Okay. Now, hopefully the win on Wednesday turns things around and they finish the homestand strong. But if they continue to play like crap on this homestand, I don't care if their lead is still 9 games, 10 games. You can only play like crap for so long before you have to start playing with some urgency. Do you agree?
Yeah, but if you have a 10-game cushion, that urgent and the 10-game cushion just stays there for the entire time you're playing like shit, it's like the padding is still there. So it is still very relevant no matter what. So I don't think you need to start playing well. If they were to turn it on and there was an on-off switch and you had to like put a gun to my head to turn that on off, so I wouldn't turn it on yet.
Because you don't want it to turn off before.
No, if you had to. Yeah, because there's going to be there's still an off. I wouldn't like force to turn it on yet. Like my hand is not trembling yet to turn that switch. If you get to the middle of September, I'm turning that on. Like my hand is shaking, my feet are tapping. I'm chewing my gum a lot more intently. I'm turning it on now. Not yet.
Yeah, this on-off switch, I don't buy. Also, I don't actually believe teams can.
Well, it doesn't
can turn
exist.
on.
I'm using that as an example.
Wait, hold on. There's
no
no
on-off
switch. There's no button.
No.
It's not in like
No, it's
There's like how like
red case?
the
No.
president has the nuclear football and he opens it up and he can press the button. There's no like Brian Cashman sitting up there in his suite and he opens up a baseball and it's got a little keypad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No.
That's his luggage
No,
password. Get it on.
it's the kind of combination an idiot would have on his luggage. There's no button. There's no
been
button.
duped.
Sorry. Yeah.
But see, the thing is with this team, I am not super confident. I'm confident this team is better than they've been playing. Like I've said that all along. I am not super confident that this team, if they're still playing poorly into September, can get rolling again for October.
I do. Because I think that they have, again, I go back to the talent. They have all the talent that they need to compete at a high level here. They do. The guys have been enough of a track record to show me that these guys are not incapable of finding that back. I think, one of the little things I'm looking for when I'm watching a game too is that I already mentioned it, but that response of DJ LeMahieu after he got that base hit. He walks up to the plate, attacks the pitch, gets on base, fired up on first base, fired up. You could tell that he was so happy to be in the game and contribute because DJ LeMahieu, just knowing who he is since he's been on this team, you can tell that he hates sitting on the sidelines. He's not that guy. He loves being in the game and feels a responsibility to contribute. So when I saw that emotional response there, like you could just tell that he was pining to get back in the game and super frustrated about his foot. And there's a good amount of guys like that. Track records there. Rizzo, clutch guy. I believe in him. No matter, even if he's slumping, we walk into the playoffs, different player, I think. So I think we have those guys that, yeah, they do have the nut up in them to be able to really drown out the bullshit and turn it on.
Well, they were trying. Like, you saw frustrations boiling over, like with Rizzo when he was slamming his helmet after he was hit by a pitch and then called that he didn't get out of the way. And then I believe he struck out in that at bat, right? And then he's slamming his helmet down. Like, that's not a level of frustration.
That's frustration because it was a bullshit call.
It was a bullshit call.
Watch that replay, and if you can tell me that a player can pinpoint where a ball's going to hit him or where it's going to go, then I'll believe you that he leaned into it. But what he was trying to do, it looked like the ball was almost going to sail behind him. So initially he was like trying to get it out of the way by bending his knees. And then the way that it ended up, the ball tailed back into his leg. So it did look like he did that, but that's not what he was doing. He was trying to get out of the way of the damn ball. Nobody wants to get hit by the ball.
You don't usually see that call unless the pitch is basically a strike. And that pitch, I mean, it wasn't as bad as I think O'Neill said. That pitch was almost behind him. It wasn't. Like,
yes, he was trying to get out of the way
I
of it
know
behind
that,
him.
but that's
You
also
could tell.
because Rizzo stands on top of the plate. Like,
okay.
so the pitch was,
But
the pitch
like
was
you just
not
said,
literally behind him. It wasn't that far off of the plate. It wasn't a strike.
from where he was standing,
I know from where
the
he's
way that he
standing.
moved his legs
I'm not
and his lower
defending
body,
the
he
umpires.
was trying
I'm not
to get out of the way.
defending the umpire's call.
Yeah.
I do see.
Feels
I
like you
do
are.
see how that call. Part of me sees how that call is made in that situation because of how close Rizzo.
What you just said,
stands.
the first thing you said about this was the right thing. If it's not close to the strike, if it's not close to a strike zone, that call is not made.
I agree.
Should never be made.
I agree. But like Rizzo is frustrating for pitchers because he stands right on top of the plate. He might stand closer to the plate than any player I've ever watched. Like it's crazy. His arms are hanging over the plate. I like to think like because you've been big on Roger Clemens. Like I would like on one of these K-Rod casts like, hey Roger, how would you pitch to Anthony Rizzo? Well, let me tell you, he would eat fastballs. He would
dust
eat
him.
fastballs for
Yeah.
lunch.
Yeah, and then Rizzo would stand right back on top of the plate. Those are two objects that are not going to get out of that. That is a game of chicken that will never end until someone gets hurt.
And another play that I think might indicate the team was really pressing and doing things that were actually detrimental to success was when Trevino bunted in the fourth inning on Monday, and it did not seem like that was called from the dugout, and ended up the play was made at third, so he's trying to sack bunt with first and second. Play was made at third. IKF ends up getting a single, and that's when Hicks grounds into the double play. But that was just bad execution. I guess right thought, but I don't know in that spot, like fourth inning, would you rather have Trevino trying to get a base hit?
I'm not going to nitpick that type of shit because this team is struggling, and that's where I have no problem with when you mix something up at that point. You know, it's the team struggles. You try to do what you can to get runs across. So, and that goes back to even my thinking before when we were talking about the base running thing. Like, I understand you got to do things differently to shake things up. You got to be more aggressive. You got to figure it out a little bit. This is not the time to turn that type of stuff down. And in fact, you want to try to do more things to just get that spark. Because we all know in baseball, sometimes you just need that little spark to get guys going.
Do you think they're doing Andujar dirty?
At this point, he's just a tough fit position-wise, I think. And they needed more flexibility in the positions. And I think that's the reason, to be honest. I think that he's just a tough fit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just...
And he's not hitting. He's still not hitting.
Exactly. I don't know. It's an unfair spot to even have him be in because go out there, hit immediately. Like, it's like, okay, like that might not happen. So I don't know. I agree. They're not doing him dirty. I don't think Andujar is making or breaking this season. And anyone who thinks that, like, you know, get a grip. But I think
I think they were doing him dirty when Joey Gallo was being run out there every day in left field, where Andujar could have been there, played a similar left field, and given you much better at bats. That's where I thought they were doing him dirty. But as we knew that they weren't gonna just discard that contract until they could get something for it, which they ended up doing to their credit.
Yep. Anything else you want to touch on? I do want to talk about the postseason schedule in a bit, but do you want to touch on anything else from the week?
You know, just I think when you're looking for that energy, they said it again on the broadcast last night. That place is looking to explode, and they got their explosion last night. The Bronx in the stadium is what I'm speaking of. They're looking for it. They know it's on the cusp. They know it's there, and I'm just happy they got their moment. They are able to really let it out last night, and I think that the players can certainly feed off of that, and they have to. You know, with Toronto coming in, this is another opportunity to turn it around. Toronto has not been good. With their pitching's not been good. There's an opportunity for the Yankees to
actually have one very important question to ask you. Did Josh Donaldson earn his pinstripes, or was that his signature Yankee moment?
Can it be both?
It can't be both.
Can it not be both? Yeah, in the moment he earned his pinstripes.
In the moment he earned his pinstripes. Okay, so you're kind of combining
until he yeah, and he did have a Yankee signature moment. That will be one of the Yankee signature moments in his Yankees career. They will definitely look back on this. If the Yankees do anything.
Josh Donaldson does nothing else for the Yankees, will he be more remembered for that grand slam or the Tim Anderson stuff as a Yankee?
Do the Yankees win the World Series this year when this question is being answered?
Yes, but Josh Donaldson is a non-factor.
It doesn't matter. He sparked the
But if they don't win the
championship
World
run.
Series, if they flame out in the playoffs?
Oh, 1,000%.
So depending on what happens with this season, his signature Yankee moment is either the Tim Anderson debacle or the grand slam.
Well, he's coming back next year too.
Oh, that's true.
He signed. We were paying a lot of money for him next year too. So he's got more of an opportunity. So he could build a legacy if they win the championship this year.
Good. Yeah. Got it. Okay. Postseason.
He's still playing a hell of a third
Josh
base.
Donaldson is not he's not a problem unless he's hitting like third or fourth. Then it's like, well, this is not who I want hitting at the top of the lineup. Kind of like when they were having Glaber. They had Glaber hit leadoff for a couple days, and then they moved him down to third. It's like, ideally, Glaber is hitting fifth or sixth, and I don't mind Benintendi leading off right now. I think that's a much better option than having Glaber leading off, but they moved Glaber down to 3. It's just like...
it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Whether you could say it worked or
why
it was
aren't
just,
we just,
you know,
right now, why aren't we just going Benintendi, Judge, Rizzo to start every single game until LeMahieu's back? Like, why aren't we just doing that?
I don't know. But Glaber hit a 2-run shot last night, so it's hard to say anything against it. I will say this about Donaldson. I am very, very interested to see how he plays in the playoffs because, again, feels like one of those guys that, like, in big moments is really dialed in. So I could see him as being a guy that, you know, gets through the regular season, does whatever he does, not not what we expected on the offensive side. But I could see him having like a hot playoffs. I could see
Logan,
him being
can you
that
do
guy.
a quick baseball reference lookup of his postseason career numbers? Obviously, he had a couple postseasons with the Blue Jays.
So he's played in 39 postseason games, but he did have some with Oakland early in his career, and he has a 769 playoff
Nice.
OPS. Nice. But he plays well. He has a 895 in 11 ALCS games.
Okay.
And a 710 in 5 ALDS games. So what's going to happen?
What about ALCS Game 4s on the road? What's his?
All right, now I got
So you're saying the higher the stakes, the better the man plays. I like
He
it.
didn't play this game 4 on the road. He played this one. He went 1-for-4 in 2015 with a home run.
You found that
Okay.
remarkably fast.
Production.
It looks like
Yeah,
it
that
looks like that's his only ALCS game 4 on the road. He did play one at home, but
So yeah, confirmed. Then my eye test is spot on. Perfect. Let's
Well,
go.
speaking of
That was 7
speaking
years
of
ago. We'll see how Father Time affects his clutch gene.
You ready for this segue? Speaking of ALCS Game 4s, now if you play an ALCS Game 4, you're not going to have an off day. So
Which Father Time does not really
the
help.
postseason schedule was announced. Game 1 of the World Series is Friday, October 28th, and Game 7 would be November 5th. All 4 wild card series will be 3 consecutive days from October 7th through the 9th. Each division series starts on October 11th. The NLCS starts on October 18th and the ALCS on the 19th. The big change, though, here is that because of the lockout, the postseason having to start a few days later, and there's extra teams now, they had to remove off days in the DS and CS. So there's no longer an off day between games 4 and 5 of the DS and between games 5 and 6 of the ALCS. This has obviously massive implications on a lot of different things. Travel. If you're traveling, if the Yankees and the Mariners are playing a series and you got to fly from New York to Seattle, you don't have an off day. Like, that's a big problem. Also, pitching. You have to have your pitching staff already needs to be insanely deep to get through October, but now you're not going to have built-in off days in those series to get guys rest, bullpen arms rest. You might have bullpen arms needing to pitch potentially 4 days in a row because games 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe even 7. So 5 consecutive games. Now, obviously, guys aren't going to pitch all 5 of those games, but you might have a situation where you might ask them to get an out on a 4th consecutive day or something. Starting rotations need to be deeper. A lot is coming from this.
So this scheduling decision, and I don't know if I missed this or not, or if there was any discussion about this. But it's just the first thing that came to my mind just now. Should this impact the roster size because they're doing this? Because they're getting rid of an off day, which is a day that is used to freshen guys up, to get people back, and the travel day. Should this affect the roster size? Should they add another spot?
I don't think so.
To help that. No.
So yeah, so I'm
Logan.
looking at the schedule right now, like the actual schedule. So it's weird for the ALDS. They play. So game 1 would be Tuesday. I'm sorry, and game 2 would be Thursday. So there's an off day at home, or on the road in one
hold
place.
on.
The schedule.
Are you sure?
I'm on MLB.com right now. This is the 2022 playoff schedule. And it looks like they're doing that because that's how they keep games on every day. There has to be a playoff game every day.
So they're starting TV schedule. This is dictated by a TV
so they're
schedule.
starting the NLDS and the ALDS on the same day. Usually they're not started on the same day. Usually they started a day apart. So they're both starting on Tuesday. Wednesday, NLDS is played, game 2. Thursday, ALDS game 2 is played. And then they're again off Friday, and then they play Saturday, Sunday, and then if necessary, Monday.
So games 1, 2, and 3 have off days in between them, but then there's no.
There's an off day after game 1 and an off day after game 2, and then 3, 4, and 5 would be in a row, which is their travel games. So, but there is an off day in between games 2 and 3 for travel.
Right. But you're
me
right.
give you
They're
a-
just sitting there for the
let me
first
give you a
off day
moment.
doing nothing.
They took the off day from
Let me give
before
you-
game 5 and moved it into between 1 and 2 for TV schedule,
which is
purposes.
stupid. Let me give you a moment of vulnerability here, because this thing gives me anxiety big time talking about this. Going back to 2019, if you remember, we had 500, 400 and some tickets to the ALDS game too. That was scheduled well ahead. We knew that, right? That game was on paper. We knew that was happening. Well, also had hundreds of tickets to ALCS games, home games 1 and 2. And if you remember, the Astros-Tampa series was a 5-game series, and Tampa kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and it went to game 5. And because of the game 5, the game was going to either be the day after on a Saturday at like a day game on Saturday, or it was going to be a Tuesday at 4 o'clock, which is a very big difference for if you can make that game or not. If you bought that ticket Saturday, okay, Tuesday at 4 o'clock at Yankee Stadium, very difficult. It ended up being the Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and I'm sitting there like, hustling tickets, just like peddling it out. But yeah, the way that they change the schedule and the way that you have to like live on the edge of your seat, even as a fan having tickets to a particular game, it sucks. It sucks.
Like,
yeah, multiply that by
do I have a really
200.
fun Saturday, or do I have to take off work? Like, those are my two things.
Yeah, and stress all of the transit and traffic to get to the stadium. By
so
first
you go
pitch.
back to your question about should they be changing the roster size? I don't think so, because teams already construct their roster differently for playoff series, because you're not going to carry 5 starting pitchers who are going to all start games. You're already going to be carrying either that guy's going to be in the bullpen or an extra bullpen arm and stuff like that. So I don't think this, especially now knowing there are still the same amount of off days, they're just on different days. I don't think it should dictate roster sizes.
Well, what it would do is allow you to carry probably another starting pitcher that could give you depth, because that's where you see the rosters get pinched, is in the starting rotation. You see guys not making a series roster because if they're a fifth starter, a lot of times those guys will not make it. So you're either having you're leaning on a bullpen guy who is either a swing guy or a 1-inning guy, or you have then the ability to add another starting pitcher who could come out, not for the purposes to start, but for the purposes to eat innings in a game out of the bullpen. That's where I think the difference becomes.
Let's play this out. 7-game series. It's even more important now to have your best pitcher, obviously Garrett Cole for the Yankees, pitch in one of the first 2 games so he can come back again in the series. Because if he has to pitch game 3, then he would be pitching if there's a game 7 on short rest. Whereas if he's pitching game 2, he gets normal rest to come back on game 7 or short rest to come back in game 6. And if he pitches game 1, he can come back normal rest on game 6 or short rest in game 5. So it really, like, if you have a longer DS and Garrett Cole has to pitch the clinching game of the DS, it actually even more screws you for a CS.
You just said a lot of things. Yeah, I think it does. That it does affect you on how many times you can get your best starting pitchers in there. But I think more to again, schedules have to really align there. Understanding that you have a series before that, so there are other things that will go into how the pitching will shake up in a CS at that point. But where I think it's more dependent is if you have to go that back-to-back day and you're flying across country and you had to use your bullpen, in games 1 and 2, now your bullpen is also taxed. You're going with your number 3 starter, and you don't have someone there who can eat longer innings, because you can't rely on the same guys who have already pitched in games 1 and 2, because now you're going for a third back-to-back day.
What if you get a long extra inning game?
That's where
because there's no extra inning ghost runner.
Yeah,
so you might very well get 13, 14 innings
absolutely.
in a playoff game in games 4 or 5. Your bullpen, everyone pitches out of the bullpen. Boom, get on a flight, fly 6 hours across the country, play 7 o'clock the next night.
So the more we're talking about it, the more I think it should be considered an extra roster spot. I think it would be warranted.
Thinking about it, and I'm not going to be pitching in the games. I'm just going to be talking about the games, and I'm tired thinking about it.
Right. Yeah, no, it's exhausting, and I hope they don't go extra innings.
All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring today. If you guys want to check out some Manscaped products, go to manscaped.com and use our code Bronx21. It helps out this show immensely if you guys find the products that we are advertising interesting and want to check them out. Please use our code. Again, it's a huge help. Any last words, Scott?
No last words. No
emotional speech.
I hope
Scott.
they build. This is like how I hang up the phone with my mom. We're like, okay, goodbye, and I'm like, oh, what'd you do later? It's like the conversation never ends. Just they gotta build off of today. That's it. They got yesterday. They gotta build off of today. Keep winning for Glaber. Keep listening to his inspiring words.
We should tease some last words. We're talking to Randy Wilkins, the director of The Captain, tomorrow morning, Friday morning. That episode will be out Friday sometime midday afternoon. We'll be really talking about his entire experience directing The Captain, but also the last episode because we didn't get a chance to do that last week. I'm very excited to talk to Randy.
Yeah, he's an OG Yankees blogger as well. He's been around the scene for a long time, so it's pretty cool seeing someone who has contributed to Yankees content, throughout the years to be in a position to direct. I mean, I know he worked under Spike Lee too, to direct, the one documentary that I think all of us really look at as the pinnacle. Like that's a Super Bowl right there. So it's pretty awesome, and I'm super happy for him. And he killed it. He absolutely killed it. So
look out for that episode on Friday, and then Scott and I will be back on Monday to recap the weekend series.